Hello and welcome, I am the Sterling and today we are playing Going Medieval. In the last few episodes we've been quite busy. We built a training ground for both our archers and our melee. We've learned that fire could be quite devastating for Castle Sterlington, and production on the amphitheatre came to a screeching halt due to the lack of resources. Hopefully in this episode we can rectify this and production can get back into full swing. So sit back, grab a cold one, and let's get started. The last episode ended day 9 of summer 1384. It is now Day 12 of autumn 1384, and winter is just around the corner. I let the game run on so I could build up some clay bricks. We now have 1,480 clay bricks to be precise. We still only have 2,651 limestone bricks. Now that's not an issue because we've still got plenty of limestone at our disposal, 11,780, but we are now getting quite low on clay. We only have 5,146. We're definitely going to have to start digging some clay at some point. And we've still got a steady 5,700 wood. That's due to the fact we've been out here in our tree farm, knocking down quite a few trees and getting it all cycled so we can get our wood back up. Now, whilst I've been sitting here letting the game run on and then build up the clay bricks, I've done a few little changes and made a few little modifications, as I saw a few little faults. The first one you can probably notice straight off the bat is the well's gone. Now, why would this be? I sat there for ages watching the well and nobody was using it. I've gone around and put a whole heap of these large water barrels outside on the outside of the keep. There's one on this side and one over here. I've also put one down here near the hot works just in case. It's completely full, as you can see. And I've put 2 little water barrels on the ground floor at the front of the keep. And yet I still never saw a single person use the well. When you read the description of the well, I was under the impression it didn't matter how high above the water the well would be, they'd still be able to access it. But I don't think that's quite right. So I built a little landing out here and was playing silly buggers with the well to see what height that we could actually get them to pick up water once I saw them enter the well. And that was whilst it was just above the water. So even though it's not definitive, that alone tells me that it has to be close to the water. Though like many things in this game, I could be wrong. Nonetheless, I've built the well down here on the little dock, and even though I haven't seen them use it yet, hopefully this has resolved the issue. Though truth be told, don't think it overly matters, as this water barrel and the 2 on top of the keep have been slowly collecting rainwater. And the ones on top of the keep, I've set the priority to high, and the small ones in the towers that aren't collecting rainwater, because obviously they're inside, I've set to very high. So the settlers have been collecting water from the large barrels on the roof and slowly filling up the small ones inside, just in case there's a fire. Though truth be told, if there's going to be a fire, I think it's going to be in this district here where all the hot works is. And that's the first of many little changes that I have done on Castle Sterlington. Now, I've been sitting here watching as they build up the supply of clay bricks, and I tell you, it's been dreadfully slow. And it's made me start wondering how on earth, what on earth? When did I build that water barrel? I'm going to tell them to empty that. I don't even remember building that. I reckon I accidentally built that one. Go figure. Now, as I was saying, I've been wondering how on earth I ever actually built any clay bricks. It's been so slow that I've ended up building 2 new kilns right here. Hopefully that will speed up the production of clay bricks. Now, another one of the new features that's in the game is dung. Your farm animals poop on the ground, you can then collect it and turn it into dung bricks, which then can in turn be used as a replacement for firewood. I am yet to make any because honestly, I don't see the point. I have so much coal and sticks that I'm burning, don't really need it. So instead I've just expanded our waste pile and now they're just dumping the poop out the front. Hopefully it's a deterrent for the enemies when they come rocking up. Another little change is I've started buying seeds again. At this point I've only got beets, but we're regrowing our farmland once again. Though I'm only going to be running the seeders, I'm not going to be running it in full swing because, once again, we don't need it and we do need the people for the labour to build the amphitheatre. So, whilst we got food, I'm not overly worried. He says before everyone dies of starvation. Now, another little problem I noticed is we weren't producing any more winter clothes, which was going to become a big issue moving forwards. Luckily, everybody was still wearing winter clothes, but once the clothing they're wearing deteriorated, they weren't going to have any fresh new clothes to put on, which come wintertime is a massive problem. And so when I had a look, I came to learn that they've got 48 summer clothes. I'm like, how on earth did they get that? Especially the fact we're deconstructing so many clothes. And then I came to realise the clothes we're picking up off the enemies must be of a higher quality than I expected. And so even though we're breaking down the clothing of the lower tiers, we're still collecting quite a lot of good clothing, which is filling up all our storage. One being over here and one being in here. So I decided underneath the sewing room, where we used to store fabric, I've now deleted that storage and built a whole bunch of armor racks and I've set them just for clothing. And now we're slowly rebuilding our supply of winter clothes, which is fantastic. We now have 12 in reserve, though I still have no idea what I'm going to do with the 48 summer clothes. Hopefully it all just levels out as they slowly deteriorate. Still have no idea how on earth I built that large water barrel. And furthermore, how on earth did it get filled? Nonetheless, hopefully they'll empty that and I can delete it. Now finally, I would like to discuss the training grounds. Training in the game isn't quite what I would have expected. I thought maybe they might have added it as a separate thing you could add to the schedule, similar to the role duties, so then you could have an hour somewhere of training. Unfortunately, this is not the case. Then I thought maybe it might be under leisure, so then in their spare time, rather than going and playing backgammon, they could come over here and shoot some targets, etc. No, not the case. Unfortunately, it's classed as a job. As you can see here, it's under train. Now look, it's not the end of the world. It just means that a lot of our settlers won't ever see training, especially the way I've set it up, as I've set training to be a priority of 5. So after they've done everything else for the day, then they can train. And for people like your farmers and the cooks, they're never going to see the training area. It's just never going to happen. The only people who are ever going to see training are your carpenters, your tailors, your artists, anybody whose job can run out of work. They never stop farming, they never stop cooking, so they're never going to train. Though truth be told, it's never been an issue in the past. We'll just keep pushing on. Now back talking about water barrels and fire, there's another new job, firefighter. And it's as the name suggests, if there's a fire, these people will go out and put it out. Whether they stomp out the small fires or use water to actually try and put out the fires, you have firefighter, which I've set for every single settler as a priority of 1. Because if a fire strikes, especially on our far corners, I want to make sure that everybody's involved putting it out as fast as possible, the least amount of damage. I truly believe it's a high priority. The same as convalesce, patient, tend, all the important things that should come before everything else. Now, I think you're all up to date. Don't think I've missed anything. So I think it's time to hit play and get more work done on the amphitheater. And there we go. That's the next level now complete. Just so you can get a bit of an idea of how quickly we're ripping through clay bricks. We are now down to only 140 after only completing that little bit on top here. It wasn't much left to build. That just goes to show how slow the construction on the amphitheater has now become. Takes so long to build the bricks and we rip through them so quickly. I'm really starting to regret my decision on building the center out of clay bricks. Moving forwards, I'm going to need to find a better tactic than what I'm doing because this is just not working, unfortunately. I'll still be here in 2026 building this amphitheater if I'm not careful. It's now day 3 of winter. So as per usual, I'm going to push pause on all outside construction and solely focus on building up our clay bricks and everything else in-house. Day 1 of spring 1385. And I've been a busy boy. We are now down to 1,728 clay. And that was even with digging out clay from this section here. I had all 6 of these kilns running non-stop making clay bricks. And that's not all. I've gotten a little silly. I've built a whole bunch of the buggers over here as well that have been running non-stop. Now don't get me wrong. It took us a little while to build these kilns and get it all set up. But I think we did all right when it comes to clay bricks. We now have 2,745, which that's fantastic. Now, in saying that, not all of these kilns were always running. Other jobs at times did take priority, such as farming, being attacked, as you saw, manufacturing clothing. All these things did take priority over the top of the clay bricks. But I think we did all right. That was a good winter's work. Now, I've prided myself on being upfront and honest with you guys. And so right now will be no different. Being completely honest, I've destroyed my bloody game. To be precise, This has destroyed my bloody game. The game freezes every second day or so, and then I have to restart the entire thing, which due to the sheer size of everything from the animals, the settlers, the resources, the buildings, everything, takes about 15 minutes to load this save. So I'll play for a day or two, game freezes, have to restart, takes 15 minutes. Play for a day or two, game freezes, have to load up, takes another 15 minutes. It is taking an extremely long time to film these episodes now. This has become ridiculous. Now, I've done a few things to try and speed the game up, but nothing has worked so far. And so the reason why I bring this up is if any of the episodes are late, it's just due to the time restraint that now this is taking me 3 times as long to film. Now, I could just cut my losses and burn the amphitheater to the ground, but I think we both know I'm not going to do that. But what's the alternative? If I continue to build the amphitheater, I'm going to completely destroy this game, and at what point will it become unplayable? Truth be told, it's already sort of hitting that point of being unplayable. So why stop now? In for 50 cents, in for $1. So don't panic, we are going to finish this amphitheater if it kills me. So in saying that, let's get stuck into planning out the next level of the build. So the middle section is exactly the same as we've already been doing, just once again, 2 spaces back, just like so. Next, the inner limestone wall and the outer limestone wall, exactly the same. Ta-da! Done. Now for the corners. The corners will basically be the same, but slightly different, just like this. As you see, the corner is slightly different than I've been doing in the past. For instance, now the wooden stairs are actually slightly offset by 1 square. They're no longer in line with the others. Thus, the settlers will have room to actually move within the walls. Other than that, it's all pretty much the same sort of layout as I've been doing in the lower levels, but now it is definitely encroaching into the wall. But don't forget, we are barely halfway up the amphitheater at this point. There is still many floors to go. And so this whole setup is going to get quite complicated and difficult moving forwards. That's if the game actually lets me play. I'm still on the fence about that one. Now I'll just go ahead and replicate that another 3 times. I'll then fill in the flooring where necessary, put in the rest of the merlons, and then because I'm a sucker for punishment, I'll hit play and let them get to work building it. And there we go. That's the next level of the amphitheater now complete. Now you're probably sitting there going, well, hang on a second, Sterling. No, it's not. You haven't finished putting in the last row of statues. Is that because you've run out of statues? And the answer to that would be no. We've still got plenty to do that last row. While I was sitting here watching them build the amphitheater, I began thinking and planning the next phase of the amphitheater. And I've come to realize in usual Sterling fashion, I've made a mistake. The reason why I've built this section here above the statues the way I have, it's because you can't actually build above the statues. So you're probably sitting there going, so what's that got to do with anything? Well, as you know, we can only build 9 levels and then we're capped off because that is the roof of where we can build. Now, if you count what we've already built, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 levels built. This level here with the statues is level 6, giving us 3 more levels. So I've still got to build another level above these statues. Then there'll be another level of statues before what would be the 9th level, being the top level. Now, the problem with this is the very top statues are actually going to encroach in the top level, which is not how it's supposed to be, meaning I'm not going to be able to build a solid ring around the top. So when I've gone ahead and planned all this out, somewhere along the lines I've made the mistake, and these statues here are actually supposed to be down a level. These statues are meant to be down a level, and then obviously the top level of statues is supposed to be a level below as well. Now I've got to go through and do the painstaking process of removing every single statue, taking out the arches, dropping the arches down a level, because like I've already mentioned, you can't have anything above the statues. Then I've got to put in new arches and put the statues back in the correct bloody place. Honestly, I'm starting to wonder if the only reason that I'm 48 episodes into this season is because the amount of times I've stuffed up and actually had to go back and redo things. I reckon if I could actually do things right the first time, probably could have knocked this out in a couple episodes. Now, I can just sit here and bitch all day about it, or I can get stuck into fixing my mistake. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. On another note, we are down to only 50 clay bricks and 701 limestone bricks. We are down to 1,728 clay, but we've still got plenty of limestone at 9,460, which is fantastic. Sadly though, we're starting to get a bit low on wood. We're down to 2,271, so we're definitely going to have to start chopping down some more trees and jack that back up. Oh wow, we've got another new settler. So I guess I can confirm that we can get more than 24 settlers, because I'd like to introduce you to our 25th settler, Callie. Now I'm going to go ahead, do the usual thing of set up her job, schedule, all that sort of jazz, and then in 1 day and 13 hours, I'll have to defend her from the search party. But in the meantime, we'll get back to fixing my stuff up. It took a few in-game days, but now that's the statues on the correct level. And the amphitheater is back on track the way it should be. Now we're ready to start mining out the clay, building up our supplies, and planning out the next level of the build. Now I'm not going to have time to do all that this episode, but I think I will have time to plan out the next level of the build. So let's go ahead and do that now. So starting with the middle, as I've said in the past, it's exactly the same as the rest, just 2 spaces back. Now I just have to add the inner and outer limestone brick walls, exactly the same as I've already been doing. Now, is anyone else getting the feeling of deja vu on this episode? I feel like I've done this once before. Well then, let's shake things up slightly then, shall we? When I say the inner limestone wall will be done exactly the same way as we've already been doing, that's not necessarily true. As you can see, the limestone brick wall is here. We have now caught up to the limestone brick wall. So these wooden pylons are now going to be replaced with said limestone brick wall, just like so. Now, this is the first of a few little changes that will begin to take form as we continue building the amphitheater. Now, as for the corner, the concept is still the same, just with a few little changes. I'll show you. Once again, using our timber walls, we'll place one here and one here. Then we'll be running timber beams, one here, here, and on the other side. Here, here, and here. As you see, still very much the same as we've already been doing, just with a slight change. Now, the next change is the placement of the stairs. We are now going to place them here and here. As you see, the stairs are now offset by 2 squares to the old stairs. That way the settlers can still go up the stairs and access this area. Now I just have to go ahead and put down the timber floor as per usual. And now for the clay brick walls and the clay brick merlons. And now we're ready to start building it. That's once we collect and manufacture the resources needed, mind you. Unfortunately, this will all have to wait for another episode, as this is all the time we have for today. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.